Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. This is Uncover and Unleash Your Inner Badass, part 2. So we're mostly talking about how to unleash your badass now that we've talked about how to uncover it. And if you missed part 1, there's access to the replay. You should have access. But I will go over just a couple things this morning in today's masterclass, and to make sure everyone is on the same page. And then we'll dive a little bit deeper into how to unleash your inner badass. So I'm really excited to have you here, whether you are watching live or catching the replay. Welcome. So I'm Julie Wells. Hopefully my video is working. I look blurry on my side, which is not a good thing. I am a coach and a catalyst and a thought partner for ambitious women who are ready to unleash their inner badass and give 0 fucks in a really conscious way so they can get out there and make an impact in the world, to do work that's fulfilling, and to do it their own way. And so I help give you the tools to do that and the support and the space to grow into whatever that looks like. So I am just going to dive right in. If you have questions throughout the entire thing, you can pop them in the chat box. I'll either answer them as we go, or at the end of the masterclass, we'll have some time. So I am not going to share any slides with you today because I decided that doesn't allow me to unleash my inner badass how I'd like to. So I'm just going to talk to you and have a conversation with myself. But hopefully, if you have questions, comments, you can engage. If you're watching the replay and anything comes up for you, shoot me an email. I really want it to be a two-way conversation. I don't want to teach and talk at you, preferably. I really like to, like I said, be your thought partner. I'm in it with you. Going through all of this, I've either been there or coached someone else through it, or I'm just there to hold space for you and ask those questions and show up for you when you need a partner. So I'm just going to run through a couple of the things we talked about for how to uncover your inner badass. Some of you participate. I have a free 5-day 0 fucks challenge. I highly recommend. But in there, we talk a lot about bringing awareness to where, and in any work that I do, is the first step is really to get aware of where you are holding back, where you're still covered up, where you're giving fucks to things that are keeping you stuck or overwhelmed or feeling fear or worry or doubt, any of those very human feelings and experiences that don't serve us in the grander scheme of things. So bring awareness. You can do this I will literally tally on my hand every time I catch my mind worrying what someone will think or what they'll say, or stopping before I take action and thinking. It's not a bad thing to necessarily think how something may be received, but you don't want to get stuck there. You don't want to censor yourself and not be fully self-expressed, and having that freedom and ease that come with that. So just being aware of when we're stopping to think, and it could be am I going to cook the right thing for dinner tonight and please my family? Or what will people think about this post that I'm writing? Is it going to make them feel uncomfortable? Is it going to trigger their own shit? So bringing awareness to it. And then I highly recommend creating your own alter ego persona. You may know Beyonce is Sasha Fierce. But this really allows us to have this persona that it really is you at the core of who you are. You've just built up all these layers of worrying about people pleasing and looking good and giving a fuck and doing it right and doing what society tells you should do, yada yada yada. And so usually this woman is this fierce, badass goddess who shows up. She can command the room. She just exudes confidence and ease and grace and respect. So create this alter ego. And part of that is like uncovering what's important to you, what your core values are, how they show up in every area of your life. And then to unleash her, we'll talk more about this, is like really embodying that woman and fully integrating her into everything that you do. And then also like getting clear on your core values. And if you've ever worked with me or had a conversation with me, it's very clear that I'm an extremely values-driven person. And this is something that you have to have at the core of your business, at your family, your personal life, like everything you do. When you're solidified in your values, it's so easy to check in with yourself and say, is this in alignment? Am I feeling good? If not, like what pieces out? And so if you work deeper one-on-one with me or in any of my group programs, which I'll talk about later on, that's something that we make sure that we get you all set up with, because that's the foundation to everything that you do and the work that you do in the world and allowing you to show up. Coffee break. Yeah, and that's what's going to allow you to really unleash this woman, because you're so yourself, right? Like you're so clear in who you are. And that's not, it doesn't mean you don't question certain things, that you don't check in, that you don't educate yourself from like a 360 view. But it's always coming back to those values and leading with those and letting those guide the way. So those are some of the things that we covered in part 1. If you want more detail, watch the replay. And the other thing that we touched on that I wanted people to walk away from part 1 with is that, and we're going to dive into this now and get even deeper, is you're valuable simply because you exist. And this is truly what allows me and all of my clients to step even further into their truth and unleashing who they are, sharing their message, whether it is with their loved ones, in their business, at work, is getting clear on how you derive your sense of value and how you show up in the world because of it. So I like to break it down into 3 tiers for our value. At the top tier, or you could look at it like a ring, and the outermost ring is external things that we derive our value from. Excuse me. And those look like physical possessions. Maybe it's a car or a house or a purse or some type of like tangible physical object that you purchase. It is wealth and money. It's titles. It is like maybe who you know and who you surround yourself with, and it's gaining worth from that. And so there's nothing wrong with having any of that. It's just that when you start to base all of your value and your worth on those objects, what happens when you don't have them? What happens when you get them and you still don't feel fulfilled? So having been on both sides of that, like it's clear that 11/11 Make-A-Wish, if you're on the West Coast, these are things that are always going to be in flux and changing, and it's not something that we want to base our value in. But we're taught to do this, and this is a really huge trap that advertisers, the media, social media, all of this feeds into people who like have these beautiful lives, and it looks so lovely and great. And we strive for these things, and we usually put them at the top of our list of what we want and our big goals. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that we cannot derive our value from these objects, from external titles, things, people. It's not healthy. And when they're taken away from you, you start to wonder if you're worth it, which is not okay, because you are. And again, you are simply because you exist, which I'll get to. So the next, oh God, my screen's being glitchy. So the next layer, all getting towards like this delicious little core. So the next layer is your personal growth and achievements. And this layer can look like it's really important, and it's really cool to get your value from it, and it's healthy. It's like the personal development work you do, the achievements and the accomplishments you've had. It's like your characteristics and certain things that you do, whether it's a natural behavior or a learned behavior. And again, nothing wrong with any of those things. I am a huge fan of personal development. Obviously, I will be doing it for the rest of my life, and I recommend everyone else do the same. But again, we're always going to be on a journey. And when we start to derive our value from that space, it's easy to think to devalue ourselves or to tie it to something that's constantly changing. And whenever you're growing, it can be really easy to feel like you haven't done enough or you haven't gotten there yet. And there's so much more to achieve and accomplish. And so we don't want to be tying our worth to that place either, in our value, because if we're having one of those days where we just feel like it's never enough, and we all have those days, you are completely human. Whether you are doing enough or you did have a day where you didn't do anything, but maybe you just took care of yourself, like you're still valuable on those days. And we don't want to just pull our value from being able to get things done or be that person that has all of those characteristics or traits that our society really values. So the beautiful little core of all of this is just knowing you're valuable because you exist, just because you're on this planet. It doesn't matter what you do, who you are, what you have, none of that. And so when you can make this shift, when you can get there, I promise your entire world is going to change. And the rate at which you will be able to unleash your inner badass, your true self to the world is going to be incredible. And again, this can happen overnight. It simply is that shift in your belief and the awareness around where you're deriving your value. So you can totally sit down, you can journal on this, you can make something like almost like a dartboard with like these rings around it, and start to look like, what relationships do you source your value from, and or what things have you purchased or titles have you obtained in the past that you either currently derive value from or you thought would bring you value and then didn't. When I used to work in the corporate world, I was so attached to like having my 7 promotions in 3 years and doubling my salary, and I opened new offices and I transformed top performers, and like all of that is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I worked really hard and I was recognized and rewarded appropriately. But it also, I was hanging a lot of my value on all of that. And when I walked away from it, I wasn't even really sure who I was anymore. I had attached all of my worth, all of myself and who I was into those accomplishments. I bought really nice things. I went on all the vacations, but I still didn't feel the way that I wanted to feel. And then after that, I like literally traveled through all these rings, right? And I'm just sharing my journey because wherever you're at is perfect. We all have to go on our own journey. But I just want to bring awareness to it and let you know what's accessible to you when you keep diving in. So then I spent the next almost 2 years, I would say, like building my business, doing a shit ton of personal development work. I threw everything at myself, like multiple coaches, multiple courses. It was way too much because I was missing this foundation of who I am, what I wanted, and ultimately just sourcing value, knowing that just because I exist, I am enough and I am valuable. So I transform relationships. I change certain behaviors. I let go of old stories and beliefs. And amazing things are happening. I was putting in so much work. But again, I like had gotten to this point where like now I didn't need the external possessions or titles or any of that to chase for value, but I was putting it all in this personal development work and the growth that I was doing. And I realized like I'm never going to feel enough because it's always a lifelong journey, and that's not okay because I'm enough exactly where I am today, and so are you. It doesn't matter how much work you've done or will do. That's not the point. Keep doing the work, but you're already valuable, and you already have amazing things to offer the world. You don't need more. So wherever you're at, if any of this is resonating with you, be kind to yourself. You're on the journey too. But it really took me having some conversations with myself and my coaches and my mentors and people very close to me that had seen this transformation, but were also seeing that I was still stuck and I was holding back and I wasn't where I wanted to be in my relationships, in my business. You could just tell if you really knew me that I wasn't fully expressed. And I also knew this too, right? At a soul level, I didn't have this freedom and fulfillment that I was seeking because I was hinging it on always needing to do better or be more or have more. And so, really landing on this idea of you're valuable simply because you exist changed everything. It just gave me permission to show up as is, to do things my way. And so I want to be clear that like if you are going to unleash that woman, you gotta rework that belief that you're already valuable and just simply because you exist. The other stuff is a bonus. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not necessary. It's not where you want to be sourcing your value. So hopefully that lands for you. It's pretty powerful stuff. So let it sink in. Again, don't beat yourself up for wherever you're at on the journey. Just bring awareness to it and start to look at where am I sourcing my value from still. And I have to check in with myself all the time. Like, oh God, like I totally just caught myself caring or that like a video got this many views or this many people commented or signed up for something that I offered. And making it mean whatever if I didn't hit a certain number or have what I thought I should have. And just whenever I come back to knowing that I'm still valuable just because I am, it gives me back my power to keep going, to stay with that freedom and the ease and like having fun doing what I'm doing instead of never feeling like it's enough or that it could be taken away from me at any minute. That's another thing is that we worry, right? That we could lose everything or like we want to hoard it or hold so tight to things, and you don't need to. You can trust that the right things and people and all of that will show up and you'll be who you need to be when you do the work. But you don't need to cling to it and you don't need to just put everything into it. It's not healthy and it takes away all of this freedom that we're all craving and working really hard to have and be fulfilled. So I love that stuff. It's so exciting. Like, this literally will change your life. And this is a belief, right? That like maybe you write it 100 times every single day. You write it on your mirror, you put it on your phone, you recite it every morning when you wake up, before you go to bed. Check in with yourself during the day, right? We're rewiring our brain. So part one is like understanding the concept, right? But then actually putting it into action. And we'll talk about this more too, like later. I have something awesome that I'm going to share about how we can go even deeper. But I just want to right now go into that core concept and that idea. So that alone can make this entire masterclass valuable. And whether or not we work together in the future, I hope you take that and you apply it and you take it to heart and you really practice and believe that, and let that transform your life. So I would love to hear how that resonates, what insights you have for yourself. But that is going to be what gives you that confidence, right? That all of us are craving, that we can get up on stage, or that we can walk into a room, or we can go into a difficult conversation, right? Knowing that no matter what happens, you're still always valuable. Just, you always will be, because that's how you're sourcing it, right? And it gives you this confidence. Like those people that you can't understand where it's from, it's that deep knowing that you're valuable just because you exist. And it's accessible too. I just taught you how to get it. Okay. So a couple other things with unleashing our inner badass that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the concept of leadership, and also being clear that leadership can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't always mean that you're the loudest, or that you're leading from the front of the room, that you're leading a team. It can really start with leading yourself, and it should. But part of being a leader, a big part is being clear on those core values, right, that are leading you, and who you are and what you want and why you want it. And then with that is finding the voice to articulate all of this. So to me, voice is a big part of unleashing it, and doing all of the uncovering work will help you figure out a lot of these things. And then we want to practice how we actually share that with the world. So just the importance of finding your voice and showing up for that. And so that it's just a constant practice, right? When I first started my business, I would write like these really like vanilla Facebook posts, trying to like appease to everybody. I was used to having to use my corporate voice. There was no personality. They were so blasé. And if I did write something vulnerable, I would get an insane vulnerability hangover. Pause for coffee. It's actually cashew milk mocha. It's my new obsession from Equator, which I just saw was the, I think, 2016 #1 national small business or something, and it's run by 2 women locally, and they work at my co-working space, which is amazing. But yeah, support local business. Anywho, using your voice. Yeah, so when I would first start, right, these vulnerable moments would take everything from me, and I didn't know how to process. Oh God, I'm frozen on a really unfortunate face. Hopefully you don't see that in the recording. Life is tech. But the whole point is like, it takes practice to the point where now, like today, I could write 5 vulnerable posts back to back. It's not that it's not uncomfortable, right? It's just that I know my voice, I know my values, I know why I'm here, and I show up for it, and I use my voice because I want to lead, to unleash who I am and what I'm here for and standing for it. And then part of that is also giving you permission to do that. So in whatever way that's going to look like for you, practicing finding your voice is critical. So it could be journaling every day. It could be small recordings that you keep private. It could be little blog posts you could write under someone else's name. But in order to unleash her, she needs to be shared with the world. It could be songs. It could be poetry. It really could be artwork. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just this outward expression of your truth and that message you want to share with the world. So that just in order to unleash it, right, we want to show up and we want to just practice every day. And so on the other part that comes with that is the fear of doing that. And we have this really interesting relationship with fear that we treat it like it's a bad thing and we push it away and we run from it, when really usually the fear is, okay, there's the primal fear, like you're going to be eaten and attacked by a wild animal, or like have something horrible happen to you. Obviously listen to those fear responses and take action appropriately. But this is a fear that our brain tells us when something's uncomfortable, right? And so instead of just trying to run away from it or push through it, which like part of this may feel like pushing, but it's just showing up in honor of the fear, right? And just saying like, hey fear, what's up? Nice seeing you here. Not surprised. I'm about to do something really uncomfortable. So I'm glad that you're here because you're reminding me that I'm pushing myself and I'm not staying stuck and stagnant and in that icky place that doesn't really feel good, but it is safe, right? And so then you are transforming that relationship with the fear. And in using your voice, you're gonna, every time you push it a little bit further and you share a little more publicly or a little more vulnerably, this fear is gonna come up, right? And so you wanna just show up in honor of that fear, knowing that that fear is a good thing, that you're unleashing another layer of yourself, right? And there's gonna be more freedom that comes with being self-expressed and that fulfillment of like deep soul connection too. And then like allowing someone else to see something for themselves in whatever, however you're expressing your voice. And so deep connection is a part of living a really whole and full life. So the deeper we can go and the more we can use our voice, the deeper those relationships are going to be and be more fulfilling. So super important. It also is going to allow us to take our work to the next level, to make more money, to attract the right clients that light us up, that don't burn us out, right? To sign the right deals, to ask for a promotion, to ask for more money, to raise your prices, right? And again, it all is ultimately going to tie back to that value of just knowing that you're worth it because you exist. And then how do you put a voice to all of that? It's powerful stuff. Okay. So with all of that, and the next level, besides even like your work and money and everything else that you're going to use and sharing your message and attracting the right clients, is the impact that you have on the world, right? The impact you make with others, the legacy that you create and build and leave. And the more rooted you are in knowing your value and then sharing your message and your gifts with the world, the more ripples you're going to create, the deeper that's going to land, and the more impact you're going to have, which hopefully if you're here, you care about impact. If you don't, I'm not the coach for you. If you just want money, then I'll find you a different coach, right? So, but if all of these things, if that deep sense of value and knowing yourself, who you are, what you want, and then the deeper relationships and being fully self-expressed and free from worry or resentment or fear of what people are going to think or say about you, if having more clients that you love, work that fulfills you, money to do things that you care about, leaving an impact on the world, creating a legacy, being a leader, having a voice, standing up for something that matters, whatever that looks like to you. If all of that is important and you're still not really sure, like, I'm not quite there yet, I have some ideas, or I'm still feeling a little bit stuck, I want to invite you to join me and a phenomenal group of women to the 6-week Zero Fucks program that I'm creating, the Conscious Zero Fucks Crew. So I am all about learning how to give zero fucks, but it's not actually about giving zero fucks. It's about how to be really conscious, right? And so we'll spend the first 4 weeks together, going basically level by level. So we're going to look at self and personal, like I talked about, of like who you are, what do you want, that deep knowing, that value, that self-worth, working through everything, taking off everything that's built up on top of that, and getting more clarity, setting that foundation that's going to set you up for success, for better relationships, more money, more impact, more freedom, more fun, more confidence, all of that. Start there, rock your world. And then we'll move into relationships, because these are essential, whether it's business, personal, professional, looking at where you're giving too many fucks, where you're not fully self-expressed, what needs to be uncovered and unleashed, so that you can have a deeper connection, more intimacy, more fulfillment, and more joy and just freedom in those relationships. We'll talk about what to do if people are no longer serving you, or if you need to surround yourself with people that inspire you. And you'll also have this amazing group of women going through all of this with you. You'll have access to me through all of this for some coaching. And then we're going to look at your livelihood and your career, whether you own your own business, if you have a side hustle, if you're in the corporate world, nonprofit sector, whatever it is you are doing or want to be doing. Again, we're going to look at how to uncover and unleash yourself in all of that, so you can make more money, you can have a bigger impact, you can have more fulfillment in everything you're doing, more freedom, you can show up as yourself and trust that you can actually make more money being yourself. And have more success just being yourself. Trust me, it's the way you want to do it. It's crazy how everything shifts. And then the 4th week, we talk about, on a global level, how to be a conscious global citizen, how to make an impact, how to create your legacy, how to be really conscious of how all of that plays into your voice and your core values and your worth and everything that we've talked about up until that point. Give you some clarity around that. And then, because I really want this to sink in and be applied to what you're doing, not just throw new information at you. Like, this was really going to the core. This is giving you foundation, so that all the other programs, courses, personal development work, everything on top of that is really easy to integrate because you've done this foundational core work. And this is the part a lot of us skip, or we don't come to until way later in life. Right? So this investment in yourself, well, let me go back. So the second 2 weeks, because it's a second 6-week program, so there's 4 weeks of basically like program coursework, and then there's 2 weeks of implementation. And so during the first 4 weeks, you'll have a weekly call where you can get live coaching from me. There's also a private Facebook group where you can ask questions and get support from the other women and from myself. And then during implementation weeks, we'll have other ways to check in. There's no new material. It's just time for you to integrate and apply and see what comes up for you, what limiting beliefs are there, where you're still getting stuck. And I will give you even more coaching around all of that, to make sure that it's really sinking in and settling, so that you can move forward with ease, with freedom, and you don't feel like worrying what people think about you all the time. You're not in feast or famine mode in your business. You're not, like starving for clients or money and wondering when it's going to come in. You're not stuck in a career that you hate. You don't feel like you can speak up in your relationships, right? So we want to get you out of that. So 6 weeks, you're going to be surrounded by incredible women. You'll have access to me, materials, right? So if you've already invested in other courses for your business, for yourself, if you have other coaches, a lot of the times we just pile stuff on top and we wonder why it doesn't quite work, or it's not feeling good. We're not making enough money. We're not getting there fast enough. We're not, truly implementing the behaviors or the habits that we're trying to do, right? We keep falling back. This is what you need to come back to. This work will transform everything. So it's 6 weeks. I also have a shit ton of bonuses for you, right? I have North Star Messaging, Jesse and Marie bonused a workbook to help you find your messaging and using your voice. Roswitha is going to give you a copy of her book and also bonus recording. And I have a few other surprises that I'm working out for you. And also if you sign up after the webinar, I will bonus you an hour one-on-one coaching that you can use at any time during the program with me so that we go even deeper together. So the value of the program is valued over $1,500. That's not including bonuses, not including the call with me. And because this is the introductory round, because I really believe that this will change everything for you. And given everything that's going on in the world right now, like, this is so fucking urgent that I need this to happen. I need to give women these tools. I need you to have access. So I'm making it as accessible as possible. It is only $500 for the introductory round. You will have access to this program when I run it live in the future, to all the materials. And so that's over $1,000 savings. That's not including the bonuses, which are another, like, at least $500 worth of stuff. So $500, you get a 6-week program, you get a one-on-one coaching with me, you get amazing bonuses to help you be even more badass in the world. And you get to go through this with incredible women who are going to stand by your side and become your lifelong sisters. So I will, with the replay video, I will get that in your inbox very soon with links of how to sign up for the Conscious Zero Fucks crew. If you have any questions, please email me back. I would be happy to chat if you have any hesitations. But if any of this is resonating, if you're still feeling stuck, if you're unfulfilled, if you haven't gotten your business where you want it to be, if your relationships are still feeling kind of sticky and like you can't fully be yourself, or you worry about pleasing other people, you're not taking care of yourself all the time, you're exhausted, worrying about what people think, pretending that you don't care when you do care, you're not making the kind of impact that you came here to make, this is for you. And if now is not your time, I got it. But I want you to be honest with yourself, right? Like, what's the worst that could happen if you don't sign up for this course? You're not going to die. The world's not going to end. But you'll probably just keep going how you've been going, right? Giving too many fucks, not feeling confident, courageous, putting yourself out there, moving through things slower, getting stuck, feeling overwhelmed, doubting that you can even make this happen, that it's possible for you to have everything you want, that you deserve to have everything that you want, right? And it's not going to be bad. It's just going to be predictable, right? Like what you've been used to, the way you've continued to show up. Hopefully you got some insights from the class, right, that you can start applying. But also think about what would be possible if you signed up for this course, if you invested in yourself, if you gave yourself this gift of setting a clear foundation for the rest of your life. Is that worth it? So let me know. I would love to have you join us. Again, it's well over $1,000 in savings, and it's the lowest I'll be offering the program. So you can get in for life. If you go to my website, juliacwells.com, you can click on Conscious Crew and learn all about it. There's some Q&As on there. If you're busy, if you've invested yourself before, if this feels like too much money, I have some really helpful information there. Again, it'll break down everything that I went over that's in the program. But I would love to have you join us if you feel called. And if you feel fear, that's fine, right? But it's showing up in honor of the fear, of knowing that you're doing something really important for yourself and for the world and for the people that love and care about you, whether they're in your life yet or not, or coming into your life soon, right? You owe it to them to be the fullest, expressed, free, fun-loving, confident version of yourself. You owe it to yourself, to the world. So I hope you'll join us. I hope you enjoyed the masterclass. I appreciate you being here. I want to thank you for your time, for showing up for me, for yourself, for what matters. I know there's a lot going on in the world right now. So give yourself this gift of knowing who you are, what you want, and how to unleash it to the world. Have that confidence and freedom that you've been craving. So I really appreciate you being here and showing up and being committed to being a badass. I think you're amazing. So thank you. Hope to see you in the program.